Hi there, my name is Memo, this is my channel Houseplanty Goodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion. You might be able to see some of it around me. I talk about tropical houseplants. Now today I want to focus on a very cool plant, and there's a bit of a story behind this, so I'll kind of tell you that before we kind of do a bit of a show and tell. So this is a plant, and I'll tell you which one it is. It's the Epipremnum Pinnatum, so the slightly longer leaf Epipremnum that you should be able to find in most plant stores. Not the Cebu Blue, but I think the Cebu Blue would have a similar situation. The slight difference between the Epipremnum Pinnatum and the Cebu Blue is that the Cebu Blue has got a slight glaucous leaf, so a slightly blue tinge to the leaves, whilst the Epipremnum Pinnatum, the standard one, is just a regular green leaf. Now this is a plant that I have talked about on previous videos here, and I've also mentioned it on some of my Instagram reels. If you're not following me already on Instagram, there's a link down below in the description if you want to follow me there, because I will do updates on some of my more mature, larger plants and also do some informational reels as well. But anyway, back to the topic of the Epipremnum Pinnatum. A few months ago, I would say now, I took a cutting from one of the Epipremnum Pinnatums that I had because it had fully matured leaves, or at least as mature as I've ever seen in a private collection, which means that the leaves are a lot larger and they've got fenestrations. And the fenestrations, again, just to kind of touch on that really quickly, it's those splits that you might see on the leaves. One of the plants that most people are used to seeing those splits on is the Monstera deliciosa, or the Swiss cheese plant. And because I saw that it had those fenestrations, and also because that plant was getting way too tall, much taller than its support stick. I'm looking at it now. It's not a support stick, it's one of the rare plants that I've got on a moss pole. But it was growing so large, it was going so much above its moss pole that it had to get chopped back, otherwise it was going to topple over essentially. So I took a cutting and I propagated it, and the question that I had, and a lot of other people had as well, is will the leaves stay mature, or will they revert back to the unfenestrated smaller leaf form after it's been cut and propagated? And now let me pick up the propagation and I will show you. So far, and again this could change, I've only had one new leaf so far, but there is another one coming in and I can see it on that as well. But you might be able to see, so this is obviously what the mature form of the Epipremnum Pinnatum leaves look like. So they're much, much larger. So I can do a bit of a head test so you can see quite how large those leaves are. And you can see that the leaves are fenestrated. So these are the two leaves that were on the original cutting. And you can now see the newest leaf that has grown in the new media. So this is in Lechuza pon. And that has also got fenestrations, and I am very happy to report it's also got some of the secondary fenestrations, because there's secondary fenestrations on some of these leaves, which means that in the midrib of the leaf, and I'll see if I can bring it in a bit closer and you might be able to notice just really discreetly there, can you see that slight white dots in the middle? That isn't pest or anything, that is very small secondary fenestrations, which is holes along the midrib, and that's something that you will see as well with the Monstera deliciosa. If it's quite a mature leaf, you will get those secondary fenestrations, and instead of them just being the splits along the edge of the leaf, you will get those holes that are happening in the middle as well. So that's quite good. And even on the newest leaf, there are some secondary fenestrations. I'm not going to handle it too much because this newest leaf is still not fully hardened off, so it could potentially get larger than this. But what you will generally see most of the times when you're propagating is the newest leaf that will emerge after you've cut it, rooted it and propagated it will generally be smaller in size than the original leaves as well. The other thing as well with the Epipremnum is that the leaves will get larger and more mature generally if you give it something to climb up. Now, I don't know if you can see how this is growing here, and this is a very, very sturdy stem. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to bend it up without snapping the stem. I'm going to try, because if I don't, then I know, like most of the trailing plants, if you let it trail, the leaves will get smaller and smaller, whilst if you let it climb, it will get larger and larger. But the thing I was trying to come to is that even the newest leaf, so the second leaf after it's been propagated, is showing signs already that it's fully fenestrated like this. So for now, I would say that propagating a mature Epipremnum Pinnatum with fenestrations will produce future leaves with fenestrations. Obviously, I'll come back to the point of giving it a support stick or a pole or a moss pole, or even better, a plank. And go and have a look at my other video if you want to know about my opinion about plank versus moss pole versus support stick. You will be able to retain, at least in my opinion, based on what I've seen from other plants, you'll be able to retain the maturity of the leaves and probably the fenestrations. There is always going to be a risk that if I let this trail down now, and it's got nowhere to support itself, that it might actually lose both the fenestrations and the largeness of the leaves. So definitely try to get it onto something to climb as quickly as possible. And the question that some people might already have is, yes, I've already taken a lot more cuttings with a lot more mature fenestrated Epipremnum Pinnatum leaves, and I am now propagating those as well. And what will likely happen is, because I want a slightly bushier plant, is I'll group some of those propagations, those rooted propagations, hopefully by that point, together to create a bushier plant that will have all fenestrated mature leaves growing up a plank. So yeah, just a quick video for today, because I know that some people have been asking, because they saw that this was the case and they saw the 2 original leaves and they're just like, oh, do let us know if it does retain some of the maturity of the leaves, because depending on whether or not you've done some experimentation of this yourself with juvenile leaves and mature leaves on some plants will drop down entirely back to juvenile leaves for a bit until they go back into mature leaves. This one seems like it hasn't skipped a beat, so that is something to bear in mind essentially. But I think that's everything I wanted to say about this. This is probably just going to be a bit of a quick video, but I know this is something that a lot of people were asking about, and hopefully this clears it up for some of you. I will still caveat this slightly and say I'm only basing this on the two new leaves that have come up since being propagated. So it might still revert. If it does, I will let you know. But yeah, if you've got any questions, comments, do let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to have that conversation with you. We're building a nice little bit of a community, and people are coming into the comments and having discussions amongst themselves as well, which is great. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully I shall see you here soon. And I truly, truly hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.